Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. And today we have Miss Paullumi with us, who is truly an inspiring artist in the field of Kathak. And to know more about her experience and how she has evolved even as a person through dance form like Kathak, I have brought her here for me. and she has been around from not just in India, even out in the world, and she has performed her performances, and I want to know more about her. So, shall we start?
Yes.
So, can you tell me a bit more about yourself?
Well, Vanshika, nice meeting you here and connecting with you. And thanks for calling me in for the podcast. My name is Paullumi Mukheerjee. I've lived all my life. I'm a Mumbaikar. And I come from an highly academic family. My father was a doctor, my mother was a lawyer, she knew foreign languages, but they were interested in the arts. So I, as a child, was, one of those children you see. We try to imitate something from TV. And my mother wanted to train me for a proper classical dance form. So at the age of 3.5 or maybe पौने चार की थी मैं, she searched and she found this guru for me. So actually I was auditioned by Lachu Maharaj ji himself, late Pandit Lachu Maharaj ji. But he never took such young children. So his wife took me on, Srimati Ramadevi Lachu Maharaj, who was my guru and is still my guru even after her death. So she was the perfect mentor, and she molded me into this niche style of Kathak, the gharana that I follow, Lucknow gharana, but a very, again, a subdivision of it. So, and then there has been the whole journey of me going into acting, working in serials, working with the great directors like Papaji Ramanand Sagarji, Dr. Chandra Prakash, Aruna Raje, and I have assimilated all of that. So that's how my journey started.
It is interesting how, when you start something at an early age, it does influence what you do next in your life. Because even for me, I chose architecture partly because my father and my mother are people who are always interested in something creative, a creative field. And I feel like influence does make a lot of difference on how you brought up and how you turn out to be.
Yes, absolutely. And influences could be within your family, outside your family. In my case, it was within my family. My brother, Karthik Mukherjee, who is unfortunately no more, was also very well read. He was like an encyclopedia. He was interested in theatre, interested in social work. My parents, of course, were there, and my guru was a formative influence, along with the people like Chetan Datar, who is also no more but was a well known theatre artist and a director, also secretary of Avishkar, which is an experimental theatre group. So influences have come in from many areas, like teachers in school, teachers, or artists like Gopi Krishna. Pandit Gopi Krishna was also a major influence. We all looked up to him. I performed with him in his group. I also did a film choreography under him called Kanhaiya, very young age. So that was my introduction, you could say, into the film world. And just sitting and watching him teach all these heroines, all those Padma Khanna, whether it was Mala Sinha's daughter or all the RK heroines coming in, it was I remember one particular instance when I went to sleep in his house in the hall, and suddenly I woke up at 3 a.m. and they were choreographing Razia Sultan. So I have these memories, these are memories which stay with you. And just imagine, my Guruji was also involved in that choreography. So I think I learned a lot by the osmosis process, which nowadays we don't see so much, but it all depends because when you're physically present, then you absorb a lot of things unconsciously, even at childhood. So I think that happened with me. I was very lucky, very fortunate.
I think in our generation now it is more about our interests. If we have an interest in something, we divulge a lot in that through online mediums.
Online media, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, Kathak and dance forms are usually a way to express yourself. And how did it help you express yourself in different situations?
Okay, that's very interesting. I now I realize. I mean, at this age, from what I've gleaned from conversations, or maybe eavesdropped conversations when you're a child, you're not supposed to listen, but then you eavesdrop on all your adult conversations, all the adults talking about you. I I was primarily an introvert, and for an introvert, I think the dance stage just helped me express myself. And I think my parents realized that long back. My guru realized it. So I was extremely comfortable. I never remember having stage fright. I could express myself to the if you go on a 1 to 10 scale, I think 10 plus. I was never scared of being on stage. I was winning competitions. I was trained as a solo dancer because Kathak at that time was a solo performing art. So my guru was training me and she was molding me, and I could hold the stage for a very long time. Like now we do not have such lengthy programs, but at that point we used to have 3 hour programs, solo performances with a live orchestra. And I was watching all the great dancers. I was watching Sitaraji. I was watching Birju Maharaj come and perform. I was watching all those great artists, Roshan Kumari ji, even singers. I remember Bhimsen ji singing. I remember Parveen Sultana singing in Rang Bhavan. So I think all of that, unfortunately, we never had access to cameras or smartphones, but all these influences were there. My mother used to take me to see plays at Shivaji Mandir. That was a ritual. So we never realized they were great, but we were there. We were there and we were absorbing all of this. So these were my formative influences. And as you said, your parents have been. So my parents were there because they were very well read, and they loved reading, they loved discussing, and they had a very open, progressive mind. So I think they were way ahead of their times. Sometimes I feel they were really way ahead of their times. So, and nothing was taboo. No topic was taboo on the dining table. You know, there was nothing like you could, they were very non judgmental people. So that really helped me open and broaden my horizons.
Yeah, I feel it is very important to be able to communicate people closest to you. And
Yes.
most of the time it is family. And if you cannot converse on a certain topic with your family, I find that very hard to believe because, it is quite similar for me where I can discuss, bring up any topic to my mom and dad or my brother or even my friends to that extent. But I've never felt being judged for, asking
Yes.
certain things that maybe society would be very careful asking about or talking about.
Yes. I recall an incident. My father was a doctor. So he was very clinical at times, very, very clinical. The doctor's mind, no, they have a very warped sense of humor. And he was masti khor jisko kehte hain. Even in his college time, he was in GS Medical College. So he was the prankster. And I remember Debonair. Debonair at that time was one of the premium magazines. And it used to be there in our drawing room. Debonair would be there. And my mother's family or my mother's friends, they were like devastated. They said, what is happening? But he said, I don't care if they look at the photos. I want them to look at the photos. These are basic anatomy. But I also want them to read the articles. Anil Dharkar was the editor, I remember. The articles were excellent. They were sourced from books, novels, and they used to have a series. So it kind of, it doesn't have that क्या बोलना है क्या करना है how do we explore the emotions, and that really has helped me understand emotions and abhinay what in Kathak, because my guru also came from a Tavaif tradition, though we never spoke about it. So she also had come from a very classy background, and she was in the film world. Lachu Maharaj was choreographing for films, so it was not a very regressive, very closed world, but very open. And I think I have been lucky enough to have these people in my life. Yes.
Yeah, it does make a lot of difference,
Absolutely.
especially when you have a art background. It is more likely that you're more open to a lot of perspectives and views. So, do you have any incident where you felt ki like this particular form of expression has helped you, like Kathak?
Well, look, we always have our traumatic experiences and the positive places also. Now, I have always, I don't know whether it's a life lesson, but somehow by coincidence or something, every time I have lost a family member, I have been either working in a play like 5 days later, or maybe I have been performing. So I remember my mother passing away in the month of May, and within 10-15 days I was going to perform in a very prestigious festival at ISKCON. And my Guruji was teaching me a kajri, which was to do with the Virahini Naika. So this was about Krishna leaving and going, and Radha getting older. So nobody explores Radha being old. So for me, it was the first time I was doing this. But what I was going through, my guru channelized those emotions into the kajri. So you it depends on how you look at it. Either the glass is half full or is half empty. So creatively, as an artist, you need to go through that turmoil, and I have been through that. Also, there have been positive experiences. For instance, I remember I was pregnant with my child, Vaishnavi, and I was dancing till the end. So she came on 2nd October, and 1st October I was taking classes. 2nd October I had students lined up outside my house, but I was giving birth. And even in my God Bharai, I performed. So that came very natural to me. I was doing Gadanayaka, which was choreographed by Chetan Data, especially as the Parvati and the Ganesha. And I could really understand in the emotions. So I was dancing, my daughter was kicking in my belly. So there have been these positive and negative experiences. But dance has been pivotal, acting has been pivotal. And as you say, you express yourself, you get that confidence to express yourself. You don't feel overwhelmed. You can tackle anybody, and it has also helped me grow a spine, maybe, because I like to say my opinion without being dominant, or I can be assertive even without being like not fighting or not arguing unnecessarily. But I mean, no, I don't want to be a Karen at times, but I can be assertive and I can say my own piece. I think that Lucknow Gharana of Kathak helps you to do that, because अपनी बात कहने की भी एक तरीका होना चाहिए. तो वो मैंने बहुत सीखा.
Art is definitely one of the best ways to express yourself.
Yes.
I think in today's world it is something that should be blown up even further, because it doesn't, like right now in the world everybody's so busy. Like at least for me, I notice people in my office, and I've realized everybody's so focused on work. The moment they get out from work, they're like, we need a break, we need to get out. And most of the time they get very frustrated because there's no way they can actually talk about their feelings, personal lives, because office mein you will not find that
No.
kind of comfort level. And sometimes it does come out, and then you tend to sideline yourself because you can't express yourself. I feel people should take out their time and be more expressive, especially through art, because not everyone's going to understand, but art is going to be there for you.
See, art is personal and subjective also. So you need not be a great artist. So I have trained people who have not taken it up professionally. They just want to explore it, and they want to do it for themselves. Even
Yes.
now I'm training. So you have many issues can be channelized and can be healed through art. Art as a form of healing is really a subject of study, and there are courses. It could be painting, it could be drawing, it could be photography, it could be sketching. In your sense, you started from sketching and then maybe gone into architecture. So, but yes, I have had a lot of success stories when we have used art for healing inadvertently. For instance, we were doing a Navrasa workshop with a theatre director, and I had got all with my students. And when it came to Karun Ras, they had to go back to a memory which had really disturbed them. And one of the success stories was that this girl spoke about her failed relationship, and at later stage, she went and got married to a person of her choice. And this happened right. And I and the director, we kind of exchanged glances, and we knew that this had happened only because she could go back to that memory and come out of it healed. So she had accepted the reality, and then she had healed herself through the trauma. So there are many cases, though I have not documented them, where I have had major life-changing experiences for the student, and even for me as a teaching, I use it as a pedagogical tool also, because I realize that a person may have low self-esteem, or sometimes when the person is dancing and they are very बहुत ही कुंचित नाचते, बहुत ही अपनी तरफ हस्तक. That's when I realize that the confidence is lacking. So I start working on their body. So from body to mind and to the heart. So I work like that. That is the trajectory that I work on. And then I suddenly realize, oh my God, so their spine is erect and they are getting more beautiful. And they dress up for class. I try to make them dress up for class. So earlier they would not dress up, they would not look in the mirror. So that means they have body issues or, then they start dressing up and I make them feel beautiful in the process also. So the aharia is there. The you can actually understand a dancer or a actor and a non, you know. So we all get burdened. It's not we are not burdened also, but when I dance, it frees me. It's my empowerment tool, and I would recommend it to everyone. Believe it.
I agree. That is something that you should definitely diverge into, not just mental fitness wise. Obviously, dance is one of the art forms that helps you physically too. So I think that is one of the best ways to
Yes.
get to know yourself better.
Yes.
So, when did you start learning Kathak and what initially drew you into Kathak as a dance form?
I had no choice of learning Kathak or non-Kathak. My parents took me, and it was once evening my mother picked me up, and Lachu Maharaj was sitting in his home. He had come down from Lucknow. So he asked me to dance, and I danced something. I am a Bengali, so I was in some place called Bengali school at Naigaon. So I did my little steps, I call it the light bulb changing, but it's a Bengali Robindro Shungit dance. And he liked it. And then he said, Ki, oh, I can't take you because you're too small. You're a very young child. And there was a woman with white hair standing and watching us silently. So, and then I started crying, which was very, very important to this story. So I started crying because I had never had somebody tell me I'm not, I mean, as a
Yeah.
child, I didn't know what was happening. So the Srimati Ramadevi, she said, okay, but can I train you? And my mother was very happy because this
Yeah.
was a woman and she was an older woman. So that's how I started training under her. Earlier it was 2 days a week, जैसे normal होता है, but it was very personal tuition. My style demands that nuanced personal style where I can work on the student. So she was working on me on different levels. First is, at that level when we start training, it's primarily imitation. The child doesn't understand. Later on we develop all the layers as we go on, and whether it's an older person, the outlook. So there are different pedagogical tools which my guru taught me. Though she didn't have any formal education, but those tools have always stood with me when I train. So that's how my training started. Then she molded me into her way of thinking, and she didn't know English. I mean, she knew English, but she could not speak. So I learned a language. I learned Hindi. I learned a bit of Urdu. I picked all that up on the way. Then her dressing sense, her general sense of aesthetics was very heightened. Every jewelry piece or a chicken dupatta, she would know exactly. In chicken there are various ways of कढ़ाई करना हाँ. So she knew that and she introduced me to Lucknow and the ittars, मिट्टी का इत्तर क्या होता है, खाने की चीज़ें क्या होनी चाहिए, कब क्या खाना है, seasonal. So it was like she enveloped me completely, and even now physically she's not present, but I think she is the biggest influence in my life. So that's how my training started. By the age of 7 I had started competing. The only thing my guru had said that I don't care whether she wins or no, and nobody is going to deride her if she doesn't win. Later on, when I think back, people said that you were a childhood prodigy, but my parents and my guru made it very clear that नखरे नहीं चलते थे. You need to be down to earth. So that balance kept me going. At the age of 14, my father responded to an ad in the Times of India. This was post Ramayana. Raman Sagar had posted an ad about auditioning for Sri Krishna. My father responded to it and he thought I'll get a dance. मेरे audition में मैं तो घुंघरू लेके गई थी. And then through many innumerable auditions, they picked me up for the role of Devki. Ramanand Sagar himself picked me up, and that's how I came into the serial field where I didn't have a godfather. I didn't know anyone. I didn't even know the medium. I learned on the set. and they were excellent because we had Fani Mazumdar for script writing, who was a very good director in his time, and Babu Bhai Mistry, who was a special effects director, and the whole team was quite good. I mean, we had Shah Nawaz, we had Pramod Kapoor, the person opposite me, Sunil. So we were quite close knit, and we were not, I think we were more organic. Our relation was very organic, we were struggling, we were trying to understand, we were हाथ पकड़ पकड़ के चल रहे थे और हाँ चप्पल घिस रहे थे हमारे जो लिटरली चप्पल घिस रहे थे स्टूडियो टू स्टूडियो जाके so it was very interesting and it was a learning experience in itself and my discipline in dance saw me through. Yes.
I think discipline is something that you learn when you get
Yes.
into art.
Yes. Arts or even anything that you pick up as a hobby requires a certain kind of discipline and dedication. So I have been lucky that my profession and my passion have been together, thankfully. Though it may not be paying, but at least I know that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Right now, I'm enjoying talking to you or
Yeah.
sharing my experiences. I hope you're enjoying too.
I am enjoying
And I
it.
hope the viewers love it. But these are my life experiences and life lessons that I would like to share. So thanks.
Could you tell me more about where you have performed and if there are any special events that you have in your mind when you think about your performances?
Um, I've performed in many major dance festivals. I started competing at a very young age. I was a two-time winner of the university trophy, based on the trophies instituted in the name of Madam Menka, who was a front runner in terms of modern dance at that point of time, like with the likes of Uday Shankar. So I have won, I have performed, but I think I'll share with you a few instances where, for instance, I was performing at the Taj once, and this was a lectem I was doing for a select group of people, and I was doing Makhan Chori. Now Makhan Chori we all know. अभी जैसे जन्माष्टमी के पहले होता है people enact it out. So I was doing it in the Kathak idiom in the Gadbhav style. And there was this very old English woman who was watching very intently, and then she came and she told me, this reminds me of my grandchildren. I'm really missing them, except that makhan ke jagah pe cookie jar hota hai. So these little anecdotes, they stay with you because then you realize that it is not art. If you look at art, it doesn't have boundaries. It transcends boundaries, it transcends language. So I could show the Ganga, but somebody could relate it to the Volga in Russia, you know. So because water is flowing, water is nectar. So these are commonalities. So and so are the emotions. So I have had these kind of experiences. I remember I was performing in Vishakhapatnam, and this was an open-ended program. People could just walk in, and I was wanting to get out of the auditorium because I had a train to catch. So when we came out, me and two artists with me, and we didn't get a rickshaw. Now this was a new place; we didn't have Ola or anything. And one guy just comes out and he says, "You were too good." In I was doing um, Krishna Vandana, sung by Jasraj. So and I looked at him and I said, "Yes, but there's nobody to drop me at the station." And he said, "Oh, I'll drop you. I'm a rickshaw guy." So that common man on the street could come and tell me that yes, it has hit a chord with him in the right sense. So I think we need to understand that there is this thing that classical dance is restricted to classes because it has a grammar of its own. With the advent of social media, I'm very happy to say that it is not now restricted to classes. You can sit and watch classical dance even in the comfort of your home, the way I'm talking to you, and then it will be transmitted everywhere. But uh, I think the masses, even if they have a basic understanding and you can make them understand more, they will like classical dance or music. You know, the fact that, oh, they will not understand it, I think that is a great insult that we are doing to the people who are really wanting to watch us. And sometimes I feel more than the urban milieu where you have uh, the audience in the semi rural, they understand and they connect to the stories because Kathak is all about storytelling, and they know the stories by heart. They can relate to the stories. They can understand even the messages that are hidden among them. It's not always good over evil. There are so many things, complex relationships happening, whether it's the Mahabharata stories or the Ramayana. So, but they understand it better, and they come and tell you, you know. So I think how I use the idiom of my dance, how I use the idiom of Kathak to reach out, to educate, to work with people who are marginalized. Or I have worked with the National Society for Clean Cities India. I used to volunteer there. So we were using dance as a, I mean, they didn't have access to classical dance, but my Guruji started this class, and people for underprivileged, children from underprivileged backgrounds could come and understand Katha. So first we had to explain what was the discipline, what was the clothes that they had to wear. They had absolutely, dance was a very no subject for them, and they thought they could not afford it. But yes, आई थिंक सरस्वती है तो उसको दान होना ही चाहिए, लेकिन लक्ष्मी के साथ होना चाहिए, बिकॉज बोथ द सिस्टर्स शुड गो टुगेदर सो दैट द पर्सन रियलाइजेज द वैल्यू. So yes, I've performed a lot and many places, from NCPA to Kamani Auditorium to so many other places, Bangalore, Mysore, everywhere. But yes, some of these they teach you how you are supposed to look at your. They make you rethink about your art, the audience reactions.
Art will help you form new perspectives.
Yes.
So, when you are preparing for a performance, how do you go about it? Like, I feel like when you are actually putting yourself out there, it is different when you're only doing it for yourself, and it is different when you're performing for someone. And sometimes there's a slight preparation you need mentally and physically before you get there. So, how do you go about it when?
See, there is something which is called a personal preparation, which I do. And generic, I'll tell you that I always feel that a student of dance should explore yoga, because yoga calms you down and makes you come to that space, that moment of solitude before you enter the stage. Everybody has different ways of preparations. Like, I have people I know who keep on doing tasks which are completely unrelated to the performance just before the performance, but they are revising it. They are revising the whole performance. I like to completely immerse myself and then finish the performance and then kind of say, okay, I'm done. But I think the mental makeup is also important as the physical. You need to do stretching. Nowadays we have these AC halls, so for that your body has to warm up, otherwise you're prone to injury. So the riyaz, I mean, there are no shortcuts to this. You have to do riyaz. We used to do something called chilla. Now chilla is a Persian word. It comes, chilla मतलब 40 दिन का चिल्ला होता है. So my Guruji trained me in chillas, and all that I'm dancing is based on those chillas. So चिल्ला ऐसा होता है कि आपको हर दिन एक टाइम फिक्स करना होता है कि आप 1 घंटा कर सकते हो, आप 12 घंटा. So she used to make me do 12 hours of riyaz. 12 hours of riyaz every day for 40 days. This would start somewhere in the month of May, and 14 जून को स्कूल खुलता था, उसके पहले वो क्लोज करते थे. So every day from 7 to 7 I have to tie my ghungroos. I can't go to the bathroom, nothing. But I have to practice. And the tabla wala will come, then he will leave. My guru may come and go. But you are mostly on fluids. You can't stop dancing. You can't stop. That is the thing. So that puts you in a very different space when you are doing it on your own. That solitude starts working on your mind. Either you go crazy or you go to a different level, an elevated experience where you are one with your heart and you start honing it, but you can't stop. So पहले दिन गुरुजी आके आपको गुड़ चना खिला के जाएंगे, and then the chilla will start. All the great artists have done it. There used to be candles also, which would burn 12 hours, 14 hours. So they used to have those markings, and that's how people would do chillas. Chilla is a very ancient form of riyaz, which unfortunately we don't do nowadays, but some people are still trying. I also recommend it highly.
It helps discipline.
Discipline, and 40 days you're practicing. You have 40 days of, it's like you're preparing yourself for the long haul.
Yeah.
So the chilla is only done for, or only practiced by people who are in for the long haul. Somebody who is a complete professional, or even not professional, any student can do it, but it could be only for a period of 1 hour. But it has to be done. You know, it has to be done. That's a
It's
commitment.
a commitment you have
That's
to
a
follow
commitment.
through
Yes.
for your training.
Yes,
and
yes.
It is interesting. I think this is the first time I've heard of this happening. I mean, marking a candle, knowing exactly that this is the 1 hour quota I'm going to cover through. And you actually follow through with it, and 40 days is a very long time, and
Right.
then I think you also develop a habit that you end up following through continuously.
Normally, they say 21 days is enough to develop a habit, but this goes on to 40 days. And I think there is some system because 40 days is, when you mourn, also there's the 40-day period is there. So I think uh, 40 din has some kind of a significance. I never asked my guru, but Chilla has always been around in my life, and I have performed numerous Chilras through childhood and young age, and that really helped me.
I think subconsciously people do follow through with it in different ways. Like
Hmm.
for dancing, you might have that kind of a, but even when we used to sit and do something, when you try to manage your time, you will find out this one particular hour, and every day of the week you
Very-
will try to follow it. I think that is one way of,
Yes.
yeah, training
Training,
yourself.
yes.
As a trainer, how do you approach teaching Kathak to students and
I
lessons?
have had classes before, huge classes, but I've realized that my style of Kathak requires a certain degree of closeness to the student. In not in terms of I'm not interested in the personal life, but I need to understand your temperament and this is unique style. This whole pedagogy has been developed by Lachu Maharaj and has been followed to the T by Ramadidi and then come down to me. So we have different approaches. The approach could be a psychological approach, a tactile approach, which means I would have to touch the person at that same muscle movement or something to explain. The breathing, where I'm looking at the pectoral muscles, not the upper breathing, but the inner breathing, okay, or the spine work that we do. So, and the abhinay. For the abhinay, I need to really understand the text and then go into practice. So, the text to practice is very important part of the pedagogy of Lachu Maharaj and Ramadidi. Also, there is a lot of experiential. It's a very experiential. So, her teaching would not be just restricted to एक घंटे का क्लास किया और आपने नहीं इट वुड कंटिन्यू व्हेन आई वुड ट्रैवल विथ हर आई वुड बी विथ हर सो यू नीड टू बी द क्लोज टू योर गुरु also something I'll tell you an anecdote. I remember doing this. Martha Graham had gone to, I think, the zoo and watched this cheetah walk. So my guru wanted to teach me the duck walk in Gat ki chal, which Lachu Maharaj had taught her. And brilliantly, my family and my brother, my mother, and my Guruji decided to connive together against me and said, okay, okay, हाँ तुम्हें ना जाके देखना चाहिए वाइकला के zoo में how the ducks walk. Incidentally, it was raining. These people packed me off, and now there were no smartphones, nothing. They decided to pack me off with a small dabba. Go and watch the ducks walking, then you will understand how they walk. The whole body goes this way.
Yeah, the movement.
Movement, yeah.
Yeah.
But they have this webbed feet. I was pushed off, and I went there and sat under an umbrella. It started raining. Whole day till 7 p.m. I was waiting till that zoo closed down. In the end, the zookeeper came and said they were all there in the water. Not one goddamn duck came out to walk. They were all huddled like this, and the whole group was like this. And I'm just thinking, because this was homework given to me, so I was a very conscious student, and I was not that smart. And I was like watching and watching and saying, "Ek to chalo bhaiya, ek to chalo." I was completely drenched, and then came out. I did a public call, and I told my brother, what have you done?" He said, "It's okay. It's fine. You were one with nature. Now come back home." And they were laughing and they teased me mercilessly. But that was the kind of training because we didn't have YouTube. And even if you have YouTube, you're not going to pick up something that you watch physically there. So this was how my guru trained me. I mean, at my expense, of course, but I'll never forget that duck walk. Again, they resent me back when it was stopped raining, and I was better prepared. But yes, so these humorous incidents also teach you a lot, you know, and yeah. So this is the kind of training I look at, and this is what I'm going to transmit through the work, the content that I'll be creating. And when people approach me, these are all the pedagogical tools that I'll be using. So mine is a little eclectic way of teaching. It is not the usual, ABCD you learn. It is just being literate, but it has to be something more than that. It has to touch your soul. It has to warm you up. It It has to make you feel good. It's like, not maybe chicken soup, but कथक का कुछ तो मिले आपको on a rainy day, कि कुछ you take back something good, something brilliant, something that will help you through life.
Experiencing and having practical knowledge, I feel, is just as important as just knowing the theory of how a
Yes.
particular thing works, maybe more sometimes.
More same, yes.
What are certain values that you carry with yourself and you would pass on to your students, as a not just as a Kathak dancer but as a dancer or in general?
Um, as being in the performing arts, I have seen that power uh, and money. Uh, these are two areas which, you know, there is no black and white. There are a lot of grays, and people who are hungry for both, they tend to do the half truths. They tend to use every technique to reach higher spaces, and that is what they transmit to the students also. I wish that would stop, because the toxicity, the gaslighting that they do, and they are in higher echelons of power. So you really um, cannot sit with them and have a decent conversation. What I feel, I don't want to sound preachy, but what I've realized, my own, something that I've learned on the way and I'm still learning, is that my guru had told me long back कि जब सही नहीं चल रहा है, like you're working with someone, it's a collab you're doing, for instance, you work with different people. Now you have a client, you're an architect, you do their work, you finish it, you're not happy, walk away. Walk away, get your mental health together. Do not, it's not worth it. And I am not a person, I believe in some samskaras from my family that मैं किसी के पेट पे लात नहीं मारती. I do not take anybody's job. I will prepare, if I'm going up, then I'll prepare a space for you. I'll give you the respect. I work with Lavani dancers, I work with folk dancers. I have always given them the respect that they deserve, because they are doing excellent work in that field. I am not them, they are not me. But we can coexist. And I'm an animal lover also. So I feel that coexistence needs to be there. We need to coexist side by side. We need to respect other sentient life. You can't just trample upon somebody and then become big. या अपने आप को बड़ा दिखाने के लिए दूसरे को छोटा मत करो. Also, when you come to me as a dance student, give your 100%, because even if you give your more than 100%, my Guruji used to say कि 100 के टक्के के ऊपर जाओगे तो जाके जब नाचोगे तब 40% दिखता है, So you really have to, because I am also investing my soul in you. This is not something that just PT करके निकल गए या ऐसे exercise कर. I'm investing my soul in, I'm investing my time, energy, but my soul also. थोड़ी सी एक आत्मा भी हमारी जाती है. So it's an energy transmission. So I need that place to be very sacrosanct and very sacred without the politics.
Yeah.
At least for the time you're learning. And then of course there will be innumerable places where you will encounter politics and you need your coping mechanisms. So I think as a teacher we also need to teach students how to deal with success and failure. I think that should be
It
there.
is important. I think it is important to respect certain things that you do know, certain things that you don't, and respect the people that you're working around. And that is one of the major values that is important when you are not just in art but in any field. Because even as an architect, sometimes I work with a contractor. Now, in certain ways, he is more knowledgeable than me, and certain ways, vice versa. So I understand that while working with someone, you have to respect what they are good at, and vice versa. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what challenges have you faced while teaching Kathak, and when with students?
I think more than the students, the parents need counseling, honestly. I mean, this is a very candid podcast that I'm doing with you. The parents try to put their foist their dreams onto their children. And that doesn't work. That really doesn't work. Also, when you are coming to me, it means you do not have that. Okay, you are not proficient in that. But you cannot ask me to do favoritism and all of that. So most of the parents are like that. The children themselves are not an issue, but there are a lot of influences happening. So, how I train them is that's what I told you. Mine is a very personalized training. I like to understand why the person has come to me, whether it's a child, an older woman, an older man, whoever. I have taught transgenders. I have worked with disabled people. I have worked with people with mental health issues. So, but why do you want to come and learn from Kathak first thing and why from me? What are you looking at? And then I try to tailor made capsulize for them so that they understand. For instance, there are people who come from Varnak background and they may not understand what I'm speaking right now, so they would want me to go and talk to them, like if you know in a school where uh, they have a vernacular background तो नहीं समझ में आता उनको, तो you have to understand which is the language, go down to that level, talk to them in the language, and then everything opens up. So I think my whole style is about personal attention, and that every child is unique, every person is unique. So there are some parameters which are all together, and then there are these rules, I can tweak those rules for them. So that's how I teach.
I think it is good because when it comes to any sort of art form, everybody expresses differently.
Yes.
And you can't have the same teaching method for
Yes.
each individual. There have to be certain personalized methods of going about it. So, what advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to be a dancer in Kathak, or in general someone who's looking to get into a art form?
I think what I have learned from today's generation of Kathaks, I think I'll share that first with you. When we started learning and then working towards it professionally, we were taught that art should exist for the sake of art, art for art. But now you need to pay bills, you need to have a source of income, and there is nothing wrong about it. Everybody does not start off on the same level. Your parents may be well off, some parents may not be well off. So, if whatever suits you, but I think at the end of the day, you need to be true to yourself. My guru always told me, and which I repeat ad nauseum actually, that sham ko na, you should be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I've not done anything wrong to anyone. I have not wronged anyone. I have मैंने मेरे इल्म के साथ गद्दारी की कि नहीं, ये प्रश्न आपको पूछना चाहिए. इल्म इज़ अ वेरी स्पेसिफिक वर्ड, सो शी वुड यूज़ दिस. तो आपने अपने इल्म के साथ गद्दारी की है, आपने किसी और के साथ की है, ये आपको सोने के पहले एक बार पूछ लेंगे तो आई थिंक अच्छी नींद भी आएगी, एंड योर क्रिएटिव जूसेस विल बी रियली वर्किंग ग्रेट. People mask their emotions. So many times nowadays I see abhinaya which is masked. And my guru said, when you want to do abhinaya, pure abhinaya, then your face has to be like a mirror. If you stain yourself, your face will constantly, even on stage, that mask will fall off and the real you will come out. You cannot mask your emotions. The rasas, they will themselves come, and you'll be exposed. So I think one needs to be true to oneself, to the family that you are, to your guru. That love and affection is not there. That respect for the guru is not there. The guru system is not there. Now it's in formal education, so you have different teachers teaching different stuff. But even then, there can be that level of dedication and the passion for your art and how you want to grow. And your art should not be transactional in the sense आपने मुझे प्रोग्राम दिया, फिर मैंने आपको काम दिया, फिर ऐसे ये जो चल रहा है उससे डाइल्यूशन ऑफ क्वालिटी हो रही है. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द challenges which are faced. And I think I'm listening to a few very senior dancers who have said that all dancers should have a side hustle. So I think these are very good survival tips, or all dancers should focus whether the art form is paying their bills. We need to pay our bills, so don't sell yourself for free. So I think these are tips which even senior dancers have been talking about, and that would be my advice to them.
Yeah, I think knowing your worth and making sure that you stand tall when you are projecting yourself into the world is important. And I
Yes.
think one of the most beautiful part about art is that no matter what you do, you will end up bringing yourself out to the world. And I think that is the part that makes it unique.
Yes.
So, is there anything else you would like to share about your journey or your, how Kathak has impacted your life?
Well, Kathak is my life and it has impacted in more ways than one. I mean, it's there in every part of my life. I live and breathe Kathak. Um, it's like they say it's about surrender also. So there was a very famous dancer who said, "I didn't choose Kathak, Kathak chose me." I think I'll borrow that line because I feel I'm one of the chosen few, and to have been enamored by this form and to understand this form. So, and every day I feel I'm a learner. I don't know how to express this. I know this sounds cliche, but believe me, the more deeper I go into it, the more immersive I feel the experience I'm experiencing. I understand very nuanced stuff, and on a metaphysical, on a subliminal, on a very spiritual level, which maybe I didn't understand 20, 30 years back. So it's an endless ocean, you know. You can't just fathom how deep it is. And I would want to be dancing and teaching till the day I die. I think that would be like a release for me, you know, because it just helps you get closer to whatever your ishta is, and it puts you in a different plane. An artist is more empathetic, should be an empath, and should be sensitized, you know, and we are. So that level of sensitivity which I get through my dance form, it permeates to all areas of my life.
I think, after this discussion with you, I have learned one major thing. My takeaway would be, how you might get into a particular field, or you might get into a particular artistic form, or like just work in general. You might pick a field, and it is not necessary that you know that you want to do this and that's how you got into it. But even after getting into it, learning about it, and getting into the depth of it, you fall in love with it. And it doesn't matter how you start your journey, eventually when you go through so much with a particular field, you tend to fall for it.
Yes, it's like falling in love,
Yeah.
except it's very abstract.
Yeah.
How do you fall in love with Kathak? But yes, I'm in love with Kathak.
Thank you so much, Miss Paullomi, for making time for me and coming here for the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so
Namaste.
much.
Namaste.